All right, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from RicoScores, and we have a very interesting update today, man. So first of all, apparently Josh Harris is playing chess with the new moves that he's making. Also, should the Washington Commanders go ahead and trade for Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb? Also, Adam Peters is apparently killing it in his first GM opportunity right now. So we're going to talk about Josh Harris first and how he's basically doing everything in his power to position the Commanders to be perennial Super Bowl contenders under his ownership. Also, should the Commanders take advantage of the Cowboys' turmoil and chaos and again trade for Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb? And also, Adam Peters is being seen as a genius by the rest of the NFL for how he finessed the Sam Howell situation and eventual trade to the Seattle Seahawks. We're going to talk about all of that and more, but before we do, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get a notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. This is a very positive video, so I'm super excited to talk about this one. Be on the lookout because I'm probably going to go ahead and do my cap space video tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. I have a lot of updates coming. We're going to start doing some film sessions, all of that type of stuff. I'm super excited. The draft is literally only 17 days away. We're so close. I can't wait to see what we do with number 2 overall pick. But of course, I will be live streaming rounds 1 through 5 at the very least. I'm gonna live stream the entire round 1, the entire rounds 2 and 3, because why not? We have 2 second round picks, 2 thirds. You never know if we make some moves. And then I also will be live streaming rounds 4 and 5 at the very least. And then depending on what's going on, if we're doing some interesting things in the draft day 3, then I may continue to live stream into the 6th round and the 7th round. But make sure you at least pull up for the beginning of day 3 and also all of day 1 and 2. So make sure you stay tuned for that, and I'm gonna keep y'all updated on everything. Let's go ahead and get to this video. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so the first topic that we're covering today is the fact that Josh Harris is not playing around right now. So today, as of 10:38 a.m., it was announced that the Commanders continue to build out their player wellness staff, hiring Ryan Juarez as the team's director of rehabilitation and Jamal Randall Sr. as its senior physical therapist / assistant athletic trainer. And the Commanders came out with their own statement themselves. They said the Washington Commanders announced today that they have named Ryan Juarez the team's director of rehabilitation and Jamal Randall Sr. as the team's senior physical therapist athletic trainer. Both Juarez and Randall Sr. will report to senior director of player health and performance Tim McGrath. With the additions of both Juarez and Randall Sr., Washington has formed their new rehabilitation unit. So everybody that's been asking around about what's going on there, just know that your top 3 guys are my dog Tim McGrath, and I already did a full over 30-minute breakdown on who he is and what he's bringing to the Commanders, what he's bringing to the table, what he's done in his past, helping multiple different sports leagues in multiple different countries and things like that. If you want to go check that out, you can go do that for that full deep dive on him specifically. But there's Tim McGrath at the top, and then you also now have Ryan Juarez and Jamal Randall Sr. as the guys that are probably right below him as far as importance when it comes to player rehabilitation, all the medical things and stuff like that. This unit is a newly dedicated and streamlined process which will work in collaboration with the performance department and is designed to coordinate the rehab process for injured players in the most effective way possible. This function will play a vital role in return to play decision making. So they're really emphasizing that. When is the soonest we can bring a player back where it's actually beneficial and healthy for them to do so? We're not going to bring them back too early, but we also want to get them on the field as soon as possible so that they can contribute to our winning, to have a positive impact on our team on the field and things like that. So they're trying to find that perfect middle, and I feel like we are hiring the staff that can probably do the best of that specifically, probably better than anybody else, any other staff that anybody has out there. Of course, because being led by Tim McGrath, but also these other guys that we just hired as well. Because Juarez joins the team after serving as the director of football rehabilitation for the University of Nebraska. Prior to his stint with Nebraska, he served as the associate athletic director at Mercer University, where he specialized in sports medicine from 2021 to 2023. And then Randall Sr. joins the team after serving as an athletic trainer and physical therapist for the Atlanta Falcons from 2017 to 2023. 3. So we're bringing in people from different places with all sorts of different experiences and things like that, basically making sure that we leave no stone left unturned. We're bringing guys from every walk of life, every angle, whatever you can contribute to, whatever input you may have that may be a little bit different from everybody else's. We're willing to listen to everything, and we're going to collaborate on finding the best solutions and timelines for these players to return back onto the field as soon as possible. And I love how Josh Harris continues to spend money in any way that even gives us the slightest edge in any way possible. Like, he's not afraid to spend money to help the team get better, no matter how marginal the difference at all. Like, he's not being cheap. You could tell by even the coaching staff that we hired this offseason, with all of the ex-head coaches, ex-defensive coordinators, ex-defensive coordinators that came here for lesser roles just to be a part of this coaching staff. We had to spend some good money on those hires. You can't convince me that we didn't. I don't care how much they see the light and the vision for where the Commanders' future is headed, and maybe we're future Super Bowl contenders. Everybody's buying in it, things like that. We look like a free agency destination. Adam Peters was the most highly coveted GM candidate out there. He chose us as well. I'm pretty sure, even with all of that included, money still had a lot to do with that as well, especially when it came to the coaching hires. And so he's not cutting any corners. He's paying out of his pocket to position this team to win as many games as possible under his ownership, even just by hiring Bob Myers and Rick Spielman to just simply be advisors. They're not even here making football decisions. They were just here to help him find the guys to make those football decisions. Like, he's not cutting any corners. Most owners, especially Dan Snyder, would have just found the GM himself and then helped find a head coach himself and things like that. Bob Myers and Rick Spielman were literally here to help not only find Adam Peters, but to also help convince him to come here, to basically help recruit him, especially with Bob Myers and Adam Peters. I believe they had a connection going all the way back to their college days. So there's that. And this also follows the message that Josh Harris has, that he said he wants to win on the edges where the cap doesn't apply or limit us in any way possible. Like, there's no cap space when it comes to hiring front office members and coaches. No cap space at all. So Josh Harris was like, bet, okay, that's how we want to do things. Say less. You're going to limit how much money I can spend on my players, but you're not going to limit anything else? Then I'm going to do everything I can to put together the best staff off the field as possible. They're not going to limit my staff spending? Then we're going to abuse that until they do. Josh Harris is trying to put together the best off the field staff possible when it comes to the medical side, the coaching side, and the front office football decision side, and the business side as well. He's doing whatever it takes. He's not cutting any corners. He's not skimping on any of the money. He's like, whoever's the best guy at this that's available, pay him whatever we need to, bring him in. And I love that, man. We're really forming like the Avengers right now as far as how we're building this team. Now, of course, I'm not expecting us to go out there year one and dominate, but I'm telling you, the way that we're building this entire thing is setting us up for long-term success. And remember, we already have Tim McGrath here running the show on the whole medical side and rehabilitation side of things. If you remember, back in March 6th, the Commanders announced that they officially assigned Tim McGrath as like the team's senior director of player health and performance. He will oversee the training room along with strength and conditioning, nutrition, sports science, and player wellness programs at the organization. McGrath arrived in Washington with an extensive background in clinical practice, rehabilitation, and performance programming and implementation in professional sports. He has 20 years of professional sports experience and 22 years of clinical experience. And again, he's been all over the place. He's been working as a clinical consultant across the world for over 35 professional sports teams across 11 different leagues. He has consulted teams in the NFL, NBA, NHL, English Premier League, MLR, the Major League of Rugby, the AFL, Australian Football League, NRL, National Rugby League, English Premier Rugby, Super Rugby, A-League, and both International Rugby, as well as Rugby, the World Rugby Sevens. I mean, all over the place. If there's any place that needs help with injuries, Tim McGrath has been there to help. And everybody sees his work with where he worked previously and fight to bring him to where they are. And he's just been bouncing around because of that. And then he even had a stint with Josh Harris himself, helping his 76ers on the medical side of things like that. And he's been working for us technically going all the way back to where they announced him being hired like sometime in November of 2023, but we officially promoted him into a permanent role as of March 4th and March 6th, my fault. And that's when we named him the Senior Director of Player Health and Performance. At first, he was just here as a consultant role, just kind of helping where he could here and there towards the end of our last season. And then after what he did last season, they were like, nah, we can't let you go. You're not just here to be a consultant. We need you here as a permanent role, a permanent title, permanent responsibility to help this team moving forward. We don't need you all over the place trying to juggle multiple things at once. We need you to shut everything down that you everywhere else. Let somebody else run your business, because he's done a lot of this consultancy things through his business that he has, that he created, he founded, all of that type of stuff he runs. Now let somebody else handle that business stuff. We need you completely focused on the Commanders only. You do such a great job, and we want you to focus solely on us and to continue doing such a great job. So I'm really excited. We went from the head athletic trainer getting rated by the DEA to that guy who has all of that experience and is, only received positive reviews everywhere he's gone. And remember, the Commanders training staff received an F on the NFLPA report card for NFL free agency landing spots. And I already told y'all, even with that bad grade that we'd even just got just a couple of months ago, I told y'all we would still be top free agency destinations because of the coaching staff, the ownership, and the front office that we're building here. I told y'all, wait till we turn all of this stuff around. People are gonna love to sign for us, to sign with us for cheaper money than they would elsewhere and things like that. But remember, on that report card, it literally said, quote, as far as the Commanders go, the training room is significantly understaffed, with only 52% of players saying they received an adequate amount of one-on-one treatment time for injury recovery and prevention, unquote. So this is another thing that the team is addressing right there. They basically looked at the NFL free agency card and was like, yeah, that sucks. That's not really our fault. That's Dan Snyder's fault. And Josh Harris and his team are doing everything that they can to reverse a lot of those grades, take us from F- F to an A, B at worst. They're working on it in every way possible. And right now, the training staff, which had an F, we're trying to turn that into an A as well. And I'm just hoping that somehow we're going to go from the worst medical and rehabilitation staff in the NFL to potentially the single best rehabilitation staff in just 2 seasons. Like, that's crazy. I love how, again, Josh Harris is doing everything on his end possible to help this team win. Any way that an owner can help without doing too much and negatively affecting like the football side of things, Josh Harris is doing it and walking that fine line almost perfectly so far. Don't forget that he's already let us know that he has a huge budget worth of millions of dollars to make the current stadium in Landover, that doesn't even have the FedEx name anymore, and the current facilities in Ashburn better as soon as possible. We already saw him make moves towards that last year, where the training camp, he created the bleachers, he created this great atmosphere where like there were games for kids to play. There was like a merch store. We had the big bleachers that even had celebrities coming out. We had a lot of different governors, political people, Kevin Durant, all pulling up for that. And so he's already shown you that he's willing to go the extra mile to make even just the fan experience better. Imagine what he's going to do when the guys that he's invested in the player football side of things. So I'm super excited about that. Also, shouts out the Rush Manual, because it's not a stats or a history or a did you know video, a factual video without Rush Manual included. Of course, shouts out to him. He also pointed out the fact that the guy that we just hired today, one of the two, Ryan Juarez, is a Michigan grad. So he basically pointed out, so it sounds like JJ McCarthy is confirmed. He's just joking around, but I just thought that was an interesting connection right there. Everybody we hire, there's always some weird connection somewhere. But either way, let's move on. Now let's talk about, should the Washington Commanders bring Micah Parsons to DC while the Cowboys are lacking? Because the Cowboys are definitely lacking right now. They got a lot going on. First of all, there's a report. All of this started because there was a report as of yesterday that Micah Parsons has worn thin on the Dallas Cowboys, and some won't mind if he's out of there. Basically, there's a lot of players on the Cowboys that are just so sick of Micah Parsons and his personality. It's nothing to do with him, what he does on the field. It's off the field wise, personality wise, leadership wise, all of that type of stuff. They hate him. To read directly from the article of dailysnark.com, they said Dallas Cowboys linebacker Micah Parsons has established himself as one of the best defensive players in the NFL and has been one of the faces of the Dallas Cowboys organization. Parsons won Defensive Rookie of the Year award, made the Pro Bowl, and was even named runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year in the same year of his rookie season. But despite the undeniable talent, the star linebacker has worn thin on people within the organization. The quote comes from Shan Sheriff of 105.3 The Fan. He said, I've heard from way too many people this offseason. I'm talking about at least 4 different people have told me that Micah Parsons is worn thin there. I don't know how much is true, and I don't know how much it actually hurts his reputation. I don't know whether this is a behavior or of a typical superstar. I don't know how damaging it is, but all I do know is this. I've heard way too many people that if Micah Parsons was out of there, there would be a decent amount of people inside the Ford Center at the Star in Frisco smiling or breathing a sigh of relief, unquote. And that is crazy, man. I mean, so basically, a lot of people in the Cowboys organization aren't necessarily screaming trade him, but they basically are saying that if they just woke up one morning and saw that Micah Parsons was gone, there would be a huge sigh of relief and like, man, thank goodness, weight off of the shoulders, headache is gone type of situation. Continuing with the article just real quick, the last piece of it. The last piece that's relevant for us today. Earlier in the offseason, former Cowboys receiver Jesse Holley said that Micah Parsons is the most selfish player on the Cowboys because he doesn't want to play linebacker and he only wants to be great for Micah. Those are the exact quotes from a Cowboys receiver himself. So there's a lot of different reports coming from everywhere. We have people behind the scenes. We have people in front of the scenes out loud in public telling you that Micah Parsons is annoying to be around and a headache and he's not worth the value that he has on the field, all of that type of stuff. During his first 3 years in the NFL, though, remember, this guy has racked up 13 or more sacks in 3 straight seasons since he's entered the NFL. He's on the way to becoming a future Hall of Fame player, but it seems like despite his enormous talent, the Cowboys could be at least contemplating trading the superstar pass rusher. And remember, Commanders-wise, Micah Parsons loves Dan Quinn and even gives Dan Quinn a lot of the credit for how well he's played since entering the NFL. Remember, Micah Parsons was a Mike linebacker, an off-ball linebacker, more of like a run-stuffer coverage guy. He was supposed to basically be like another Bobby Wagner. A lot of people saw him coming out of college. Dan Quinn specifically was the one that looked at his talent and was like, wait a minute, you shouldn't be backing up as much. You should be going forward more times than not. Instead of worrying about run fits, how about you worry about getting past this tackle and getting to the quarterback? That was Dan Quinn's idea, and I'm pretty sure Micah Parsons found it a little weird at first, but then Dan Quinn not only developed him into an elite pass rusher, he also repeatedly, over and over again, over the past 3 seasons, as the Cowboys defensive coordinator, found ways for Micah Parsons to win. And Micah Parsons even acknowledged that as well and said that, yeah, I am a great talent. I have a big ego, but Dan Quinn immediately puts me in the best situations to win as much as possible. He's not just sending me out there to rush against the left tackle every play with nothing else. There's stunts. Maybe sometimes I'll go from the inside. Maybe I'll blitz from a Mike linebacker position. Maybe I'll do some delayed blitzes. Maybe I'll actually just go from against the right tackle sometimes. You know, Chase Young and Montez Sweat just basically, one was on left end, one was right end pretty much all of the time. We rarely did like stunts with them. We rarely had them switch left end, right end, nothing like that. Dan Quinn did a great job of that, and Micah Parsons has literally thanked Dan Quinn from that. But then, I've also never heard Dan Quinn complain about him. All of these people complaining about Micah Parsons, I've never heard Dan Quinn or Joe Witt Jr. say anything about him. So maybe Dan Quinn doesn't mind the Micah Parsons antics. I don't know. But remember, Micah Parsons specifically said about Dan Quinn, quote, Dan's my guy. And if he does leave me, it's always love. He might take me with him. You never know, unquote. That was right before we hired Dan Quinn as our head coach. When we were still doing the head coaching searches, he was going to interview for our head coaching jobs and things like that. People asked Micah Parsons, how do you feel about Dan Quinn potentially leaving y'all as a defensive coordinator to go become a head coach elsewhere? That was his response. He literally said, quote, he might take me with him. You never know, unquote. And the only way for that to happen anytime soon is with the trade, because Micah Parsons is not leaving the Cowboys at least for like the next 2 years. So you're going to have to trade for him if you really want to, because of course they're going to pick up that 5th-year option rather than paying them the big money that he's going to be owed eventually anyway. And so now people are also talking about CeeDee Lamb potentially leaving Dallas. There's a report that there's a potential holdout that could be coming for Cowboys star wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, who isn't expected to attend the team's OTAs right now because he wants big time money. So the Cowboys are going through it right now. They have to figure out a way to pay all of these star players, and they are very low on cap space, mostly because of Dak Prescott's unprecedented cap hit that's on the way right now. And they're not even close to restructuring his deal, extending them or anything like that. But you got to worry about Trevon Diggs, him getting his money. Micah Parsons is going to want his money. CeeDee Lamb already looks like he's not playing about his money, already holding out now. So somebody is going to end up probably leaving. And it may be smart for the Cowboys to go and get ahead of this trade on one of these guys before one or more of them end up leaving, and at best you get a comp pick in return. So if I had to choose between the three, I'd personally, Cowboys, give me Micah Parsons, give me the headache himself, that, you know, also misses our head coach. So, I mean, I feel like if anybody, he would calm down a little bit for him. Maybe it's Dan Quinn, who knows? But if I had to pick between those three, CeeDee Lamb, Trevon Diggs, and Micah Parsons, give me the headache himself, Micah Parsons. But we'll see. Also, moving on, apparently Adam Peters is a jug god, man. That boy finesse king himself. Apparently Adam Peters went into god tier general manager mode when that whole situation with Sam Howell went down. There was a report from Scout D NFL that covers a lot of college football stuff, covers a lot of NFL stuff. The exact tweet goes, Sam Howell's killer mentality made it difficult for the Commanders to see him as a backup to any young rookie quarterback, per source. Other than Seattle, two teams were pushing for him, the Rams and the Broncos. He's described as an alpha and isn't the one to take a back seat. As I continue to dig into Drake May's time at UNC, there's a lot more information here. Stay tuned. So that's coming from Scout D NFL. But basically, shouts out to Rigo's Rag, Dean Jones over there, for pointing out the fact that this report suggests that the Commanders leveraged maximum value from the Sam Howell trade, and he also refers to other articles as well. Well, a recent insider report suggests that the Washington Commanders leveraged maximum value from the decision to trade quarterback Sam Howell. It seemed from a long time as if the Washington Commanders were going to bring in extra competition for quarterback Sam Howell at the very least. To surprise of some, those in power cut the cord entirely by trading the young signal caller away. Howell got dealt a bad hand, but there's no room for sentiment where the Commanders' new regime is concerned. And that's a great point. I felt like the Commanders, if anything, failed Sam Howell more than he failed us. But at the end of the day, when it's a new regime coming in, they have every right to decide who they want as their starting franchise quarterback, especially when you have the number 2 overall pick. They've adopted a business-first model with a reinvigorated professionalism. After regressing behind a woeful offensive line over the second half of 2023, the former 5th-round selection was deemed expendable after lengthy assessments. Had the Commanders not had the number 2 overall selection in the 2024 NFL Draft, things might have been different, and I would admit they probably would have. But Howell was shipped to Seattle for a decent return considering where he was drafted, a 5th-round pick, and he basically netted a late 3rd-round pick based on the pick swaps and things like that. This was thanks to no small part to Peters maximizing leverage to strike the best deal possible. So then the article goes on to talk about how the Commanders had leverage before the Sam Howell trade. According to Mike Garafolo of NFL Network, additional interest in Howell also played into Peters' hands as well. The respected insider stated via USA Today Sports that the Los Angeles Rams were also incredibly high on the North Carolina product. They believe he could be groomed into a potential Matthew Stafford successor under Sean McVay. In the end, general manager Les Snead was not willing to match what the Seahawks put forward. So basically there was a bidding war for Sam Howell, and Adam Peters took advantage of that. The quote from Mike Garafolo himself, quote, they, as in the Seattle Seahawks, outbid the Rams. There was a bidding war for Sam Howell, y'all, who I know that there was a strong feeling from the Rams coaching staff that they wanted Sam Howell badly. They really liked him, so the Seahawks were able to basically outbid the Rams there. So that's good. You got him. You also kept them away from a team that could really be used as a potential successor there. That's a good point too. Not only were they outbidding each other as just 2 NFL teams in the same league, but they're also in the same conference in the same division. It was basically a fight for who's going to potentially win Sam Howell and who's going to have Sam Howell as their starting quarterback. Both of those teams are high on him. And I mean, now that Sam Howell is gone to the Seahawks, if he ends up being as good as the Seattle Seahawks hopes he can be, now he's going to be whooping up on the Rams twice a year. If the Rams would have got him, he would have been whooping up on the Seahawks twice a year. So that was like a major, we got to win this bidding war, even more than a normal bidding war, because it was between 2 division rivals. Peters also deserves credit for getting what he did for Howell and also doing right by the signal caller for good measure, sending him to a great situation where he actually can potentially get a real chance to start. It alleviated all doubt about the Commanders taking quarterback number 2 overall, of course, but which way Peters and others are leaning remains a mystery, of course, as to who we're going to end up taking number 2 overall. But Howell was traded for more than others taken much higher than him in from what looks like to be one of the worst quarterback draft classes in recent history. But if you remember, Kenny Pickett and Desmond Ridder basically went for pennies, and somehow we got the most value for Sam Howell, who was drafted way after those guys. Kenny Pickett was like a mid-late first-round pick. Desmond Ridder was somewhere in the 3rd round. Sam Howell was in the 5th, and somehow we traded him away for probably even more value than Kenny Pickett and Desmond Ridder got combined. So, hey, man, that boy Adam Peters does deserve a lot of credit for that finesse right there, man. Again, bro, good God. I know Atlanta don't really use that word as much anymore, but hey, Adam Peters might have to bring it back himself, boy, because he went stupid there, man. Thank you for boosting that value. Shouts out to Ron Rivera and company too, and even Eric Bieniemy for having his value that high, even with as bad as he was the second half of the season. If he didn't look the way he did that first half of the season, then even as great as Adam Peters is as a general manager and as a negotiator, and as great of a job as he's doing as being a general manager here, especially we just saw with the free agency that he just had. We just signed the most free agents in the NFL, and yeah, we still have the 2nd most cap space in the NFL, and we also walk in with the most draft picks out of the top 100 draft picks out of the entire NFL as well. Like, we're super built to turn this whole team around immediately. But even as great as Adam Peters is, if Sam Howell didn't look the way he did the first half of the season, I'm not even sure he could have even pulled this trade off without that. So we still got to shout out Ron Rivera, Eric Bieniemy, everybody that had something to do with Sam Howell's first half looking at least like he has some potential. Like, hey, man, maybe we're the Seattle Seahawks. We could trade for him. We could potentially turn him into a guy. Same thing for the Rams. The fact that there were multiple teams out there that wanted them outbidding each other. Maybe the value was somewhere like 5th round. Then they had to outbid each other. Then it got to like the 4th. And then again, with that pick swap, the value ended up being somewhat of like a late 3rd round pick in actual value. And so, hey, man, shouts out to Adam Peters for playing his cards right and being patient instead of just taking the first offer there, because I felt like a lot of people thought that we'd be lucky to get a 5th round pick for him. And I'm pretty sure between one of those teams that wanted Sam Howell, somebody offered something as small as like a 5th round pick, maybe even a 4th. And Adam Peters was like, nah, I'll wait. We'll chill on that. If you really want him, you're gonna have to come to this price right here. And he sat there and waited, and the Seahawks met it. Even as much as the Rams wanted him, the Seahawks went and outbidded the Rams for Sam Howell. More power to him. Thank you for the pick swap. I love the fact that we have a 1st round pick, 2 seconds, and 3/3. That's amazing, man. I'm super excited about this upcoming draft. Again, it starts in 17 days. I will be live streaming that the whole way through. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button to get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Also, make sure you're on the lookout for all of the different social media outlets that we're on now: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, all of that. I'm keeping you all updated on all of those different social media accounts as well, on a lot of the different general news that's going on, even things that I'm not necessarily covering in my YouTube videos as well. So make sure you follow those. And of course, do not leave this video without leaving a like. And also, of course, let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video, the Josh Harris side of things, and how he's putting together this great medical staff and rehabilitation staff. Let me know how you feel about, should the Washington Commanders go trade for Micah Parsons? And if so, how much would you be willing to give up for him? And how much would you be willing to give up for a CeeDee Lamb? And how much would you be willing to pay those guys if we wanted to extend them? Also, let me know how you feel about the Adam Peters, Sam Howell situation, and how much love he's getting around the NFL right now, where people are looking at him like, man, that guy did his thing on that one right there. I don't know how he got that much in return for Sam Howell, but let me know how you feel about all of that, of course, and I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.